Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for a Gameweek 21 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, the video where we look at some transfer trends and try and work out which are the ones to get on and the ones to get away from. If you guys enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like, and if you really enjoy it, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. Let's have a look at the rules of the video. Okay, so buys are plays you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are plays you might have, but you should probably consider removing them. Keeps are plays you might be thinking of removing, but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now, but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. 4 players in each category. Let's start off with some buys. Before we go any further, a look at last game week's results. What can I say? Yeah, terrible. Like, the predictions just did not come off at all. But, I mean, it's just one of those things. I look through these players and I look through the logic that I had behind a lot of these picks in the different categories, and I can't really fault them. Like, I like the likes of Raya, Alexander-Arnold, Bowen. I think those are still great picks to own going forward, at least if Trent was available. We didn't know the Haaland injury situation at that time. The sells, I mean, Dubravka with a penalty save, who could predict that? I honestly, I look through these players and I think, would I change things if I could go back in time? Probably not. The only one maybe would be Cunha, but I do have to admit that I did record that video before Cunha had played in Game Week 20 and in Game Week 19, sorry. And yeah, I didn't have that information. Like, he looked like he was out of form at the time, but maybe I would say that Cunha is one on here that I did get wrong. The rest of the players, though, I mean, I'm not going to be too critical of myself, even though I'm sure you guys probably will be. On to Game Week 21. So, the goalkeeper buy is going to be Alphonse Areola if you don't have him already. 4.2 million is nice and cheap, isn't it? And the fixtures for West Ham, they aren't too bad. But in particular, we do like the Sheffield United fixture up next. In general, I still do think that the goalkeepers right now are just not performing consistently enough and too hard to predict who's going to be getting the FPL points. So you may as well just go for a cheap guy, and I think Areola is that cheap guy. Now, he has got a few clean sheets recently. 3 in the last 3 games that he has played for West Ham in the Premier League. However, it has to be said that he might have got a little bit lucky because he's had over 6 expected goals conceded recently. So don't expect he's going to keep a clean sheet every game for the rest of his career. But it seemed like not so long ago, like Areola was never going to keep a clean sheet again. So it is really a bit of a strange one, but hey, he's cheap and West Ham seem to be improving a little bit in terms of getting those defensive results, and it's a good fixture. So next up, we've got Pervis Estupiñán. He is my defensive buy right now. 2 games played in the Premier League now. One of them was obviously a substitute appearance, and already he's returned in both of those games. A goal in one, a clean sheet in the other, means that he has become an FPL option for us once again. Now, at the beginning of the season, we all probably accepted and admitted that Estupiñán is a phenomenal FPL asset, and that was at 5 million, so a little bit more expensive than he is right now. But then he did get a long-term kind of on the sidelines injured, but now he's back. He's got these great fixtures in the next 3, Wolves, Luton and Crystal Palace. Brighton, their defensive numbers are better than perhaps what they have actually done. You know, their defensive numbers are not too bad. They did keep a clean sheet against West Ham, obviously, last game week. But the numbers suggest that they can do a little bit more in terms of clean sheets, because they have been pretty weak for clean sheets. I think more will come in the future. You know, it's never too late to change things around, as we know with Areola, for example. The fixtures, like I said, are good and a good opportunity to get those clean sheets, particularly the Luton and Crystal Palace games, which I really, really do like. But it's the attacking returns that we want Estupiñán for, really. He's just a super attacking left back, isn't he? Charging way up the pitch, taking shots, creating for his teammates. I think he is the guy to go for right now. Minor concern is that Brighton look like they're going to sign up a backup left back, but Estupiñán should still be very much first choice in this Brighton team. For our midfielder buy, I'm going to go for Diogo Jota as my recommendation here. Really, really like the look of him at the moment. Obviously, he hasn't started a game in a few weeks. He did have an injury before, but whenever he has been on the pitch, he has looked incredible. 1 goal and 2 assists in very, very limited minutes in the Premier League over recent game weeks. I think he's only played around 30 to 35 minutes recently, and he's got a goal and 2 assists during that time, which really is very, very impressive, isn't it? So we do like that a lot. I think he is going to be more of a mainstay, more of a starting player in Salah's absence. I think Diogo Jota is probably one of Liverpool's better attackers, and we know whenever he is fit and whenever he is on the pitch, he is a player who can deliver, whether that is in the attack, whether that is, you know, on set pieces. He is a big aerial threat to score headed goals from the corners and the free kicks and stuff like that. So that's going to be a real benefit from him as well. So very many ways of, you know, getting attacking results, particularly as his positioning is so good. He's always in the right place at the right time, and I just back him more than I do some of the other Liverpool attackers right now. Now, obviously, Diogo Jota is not the only midfield option to go for this game week, so make sure, if you have got time, check out yesterday's stream we did. It's an hour long, but we went through all of the midfield options for you guys to bring in for the likes of Salah or Son or Hwang or whoever else you're selling in midfield right now. You want a new one, we go through all of the options in that one and try and work out the best ones for you. Not just the best ones in general, but the best ones for you. So I like Diogo Jota. He's a very risky pick, but I love that risk. I love the idea of going for him. I think he's got very, very high potential in the short term. So that's the one I would go for, but might not be for you. Check out yesterday's stream for more details on that one. And for our forward buy, again, we're going differential. A few differentials in the buy section today. We're going to go for Tony. Yes, really, really like the look of Tony. Still sitting under 1% ownership as he comes back from a lengthy suspension. But, guys, we know how good this guy is. We know how elite he is as a forward. Like last season, he was pretty much an essential striker, a player you absolutely had to own throughout the 2022-23 season. And now he's back. Well, he's a must-own as well. Some people will be saying, okay, well, is Tony going to come straight back into this this Brentford team? Well, my answer to you is yes. Brentford fans themselves have been saying, listen, if Tony was suspended until halfway through a Premier League game, Tony would be in the stands completing his suspension for the first half of the game, but by the second half of the game, he would have stripped off and got his kit on, ready to start the second half. He will play as soon as he is available, and he is available, finally, for Game Week 21. Nottingham Forest is the fixture. It's a really nice one at home. After that, Spurs, another team that do concede a lot of chances, which I like. Man City is a game where Tony has performed before, and Wolves is not so bad either. So really, I really like Tony at 7.9 million. I think he's an insane differential. And if I'm going for a forward this week, he is, without a shadow of doubt, the guy to go for. So really excited about this pick. Yeah, and differential as well. Are you brave enough? That's the question. If you are, Tony's your guy. Goalkeeper sell is going to be Onana. I think a few people will be tempted to keep him because obviously he's not going to be going off to the international duty with Cameroon quite yet. He is going to be waiting until after the Spurs game before he goes off to AFCON international duty. But I don't think that really changes anything. He's going to be going off for that Wolves game and he's going to be completely unavailable by that point. Even this game week, it's against Spurs, so it is a really a tough fixture. I wouldn't really want to own him for that one. I think at 4.8 million, you can do a lot better. Manchester United's form has not been great recently. We kind of know that. So I think it's a pretty easy sell, even though he is probably going to play in Game Week 21. He's off in Game Week 22 anyway. Just get rid of him now. I think if you do still have him in your team, unless you've got bigger issues, I suppose. And for the defenders, to sell a defender, it was really difficult to pick out a defender who would probably be a sell right now. There's lots of different options. I think the ones that stood out to me that a lot of people still own are Matty Cash and Joachim Anderson. So those two defenders would be the players I'd be most happy to sell right now. But if you still got Cash, wouldn't be too confident about his game time at the moment. It seems like Ezri Konsa is playing in that right back position. Pau Torres, we might see him back as well. So it's going to be actually difficult for Cash to get game time at the moment because he just hasn't really been getting it recently. He doesn't really fit what Aston Villa are trying to do at the moment. So I think he would probably be a pretty easy sell if you still have him. Like I say, Anderson at Crystal Palace would be another defender I'll be very keen to sell. But aside from that, you're probably going to be looking at keeping roughly the defenders you have already. I mean, small argument to sell Trippier, but he's not a must sell. You just got to get past the Man City and Aston Villa games for Trippier, and I think he's going to become a decent option again. So I would actually perhaps be looking to sell Cash and Anderson over the likes of Trippier. So our midfielder sell is going to be Gordon. The reason for that is because all of the other midfielders that people are looking at selling, well, I mean, they're so obviously sells. You know, we've got the likes of Salah, Son, Hwang Hee-chan, Mitoma, Kudus. all of these players are going off to international duty, so they're like obvious sells. I can't put them in this video because like obviously, Dan, obviously you would sell these players. But out of the midfielders who are fully fit, fully available, and likely to play, and very highly owned among you guys that I think are sacrificable, I think Gordon is the most sacrificable midfielder out of those midfielders who actually are available. So I wouldn't have any problem really selling Gordon. The form hasn't been amazing recently for Newcastle in general. The next fixture is against Man City. Aston Villa away from home. That is also going to be a fairly tough fixture. Aston Villa do keep things fairly tight as well defensively. So I think you can afford to lose Gordon if you have no other bigger issues in your midfield. But perhaps you do have bigger issues with the likes of Salah, Son, and whoever else to sell this game week, and you may have to keep Gordon. I don't think there's any problem with keeping Gordon, but like I say, he's really the only midfielder I could really consider selling. I think he would be easy to sell rather than a player you have to sell. So a soft sell for Gordon, I suppose. No problem with keeping him if you feel that you need to, but he's not an ideal player to own right now. And also Nkunku, I know a few people bought in Nkunku recently. He has picked up a new injury right after his previous injury. It looks like Nkunku is actually going to be out for a couple of weeks. Probably not a couple of game weeks. I think he could be back up by game week 22, but game week 21, he plays on Saturday, so that is quite soon, and I just can't really see him starting in that game. So I think Nkunku might have to go, but there are some nice other forwards to go for right now. Nkunku to Tony looks like a really nice move that I definitely would be making if I was an Nkunku owner, because like I say, don't think he's going to be playing in game week 21. Goalkeeper keep is Martinez. Would I be buying him necessarily? Probably not, but I know a lot of people picked him up because, as I was saying earlier, Aston Villa's defensive numbers are actually pretty decent as far as the Premier League can go this season. I mean, no one's great defensively this season, really, are they? But Aston Villa, as far as things go, not so bad. Martinez, obviously a goalkeeper who does typically make a lot of saves, and he's just a top quality goalkeeper, and I do like this Aston Villa defence. I think they will pick up some more clean sheets in the future. We've got an Everton team here who are struggling a little bit to score goals at the moment. I think they've only scored 2 goals in their last 4 games in all competitions, so there is an opportunity for clean sheets there. Their form has started to dip a little bit, hasn't it? And we've got that Sheffield United game in a couple of weeks as well, which is always a nice opportunity for a clean sheet, no matter who you are. So yeah, definitely would be looking to keep Martinez if I bought him previously, but don't think I would buy him necessarily at 5.2 million. And Saliba, a lot of people looking to sell Saliba. I kind of understand why, because he is very expensive and Arsenal have been very disappointing recently. Very disappointing. In fact, I think Saliba's only kept something like 2 clean sheets in the last 10 game weeks, which is not good enough, really. But what else are we going to get that's better? We kind of understand by now that clean sheets are, a very, very rare and very precious thing. It doesn't happen very often. But what I would say about Arsenal and about Saliba is that we have got 2 great fixtures next. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. You don't get too much better than that in terms of clean sheet opportunities. Neither of those teams are teams that score a whole lot of goals typically. So I would be looking to actually keep Saliba for these 2 game weeks, Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. After that, if you want to move him on, that's fine. But I would say that Saliba is a very, very, very low priority sell. So much so that I think he's a keep. I would not be looking to sell him personally unless I needed to free up some budget. But right now, guys, because we're selling all of these premium players, I don't think money is going to be an issue, really. So Saliba is absolutely fine to keep. Now, speaking of a player who is maybe a little bit more expensive than perhaps they're worth, and that is Saka. 9 million. It's quite expensive for what he's been producing recently, but if you look at the underlying numbers, Saka's numbers are good. Like, they do suggest that he is going to get back to returns very, very shortly. He is creating a lot for his teammates. 12 key passes, 1.54 expected assists, 21 shots, which is really, really high numbers. This is a really high volume of numbers here. 2.24 expected goals. Obviously, during this, he's only got 1 goal and 0 assists, but we're looking at, almost 4 expected goal involvements in his last 5 game weeks. That's not really too bad, is it, really? So, looking at the underlying numbers, he looks good. Looking at the form, maybe not quite there, but going back to what I said about the fixtures are quite nice, and the opportunities are there. It's just a case of whether he will capitalize on them, and I think there's a good chance that he does. I do think there's a good chance he does. Still a super high owned player. If you jump off him now and he does well, you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to be in big trouble. So definitely a player, despite the high price tag. I don't think we're worried about money at the moment. So for the time being, I think he is going to be a keep until we need to free up that budget to get back Salah, to get back Son, to get back Haaland perhaps. But now, yeah, just keep him. Just keep him. No problem with that. Also, keep Julian Alvarez. I think he is good to start this game week. I think he's going to start against Newcastle as the central striker. And what's even better is that Newcastle concede so many goals from the central areas. They really do have a weakness in the central areas. And Alvarez is a central player, right? Also, we've got the fact that Alvarez is the set piece taker, he is the penalty taker, and the central striker for, you know, one of the most creative attacking teams in world football of the past, you know, however long, right? We're talking about a serious FPL asset. Let's not overcomplicate this like 7 million for someone who has all of that in his locker and is a top quality World Cup winning striker as well. What can go wrong? Like, he's obviously a very good pick. Like, the numbers recently have been good. 2 goals and 1 assist in his last 4 games in the last 5 game weeks. That is actually an underperformance with 2.97 expected goals during that time. He gets a lot of big opportunities to score. He gets a lot of big opportunities to assist. And against Newcastle, I think this fixture suits him as well. Now, Julian Alvarez is not really a player I would necessarily be looking to buy, because I do think he is going to find himself rotated very soon. But I think you've got to give him this game week at least. And maybe even consider captaining him if you do have him already. So, Dubravka is going to be our first avoid today. Yeah, if you want to buy Dubravka, I think you probably missed the opportunity to do that. There's always rumours about Newcastle signing a new goalkeeper, although to be fair, I don't think Dubravka's done too badly. I think Newcastle defensively have been horrible, but typically, Dubravka has been making some good saves and keeping the ball out of the net more than Newcastle would perhaps expected, because Newcastle are conceding a whole lot of XG at the moment, and Dubravka is keeping a little bit of it out, to be fair to him, making a lot of saves at the moment. You can see 28 saves in his last 5 game weeks. So, if you already have him, I think he's fine to keep. But would I be buying him ahead of these next 2 fixtures? I don't know. Obviously, we got a penalty save last game week, and that's going to influence people's decisions. They see the points a goalkeeper scored last week, see that no other goalkeepers are really scoring very many points, and think, hey, he scored some points. Maybe he's going to score some more points. But a penalty save, it's just not going to happen every game week, unfortunately. And, yeah, looking at these next 2 fixtures, I can see Newcastle, you know, conceding a few goals whilst they try and get back into gear. It's not going to happen overnight. So, yeah, next 2 fixtures are going to be tough for Dubravka, and Newcastle would look to avoid the Newcastle players for now, unless, of course, you already have them. And finally, in the defensive avoid section, we're going to put Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yes, we did get the news today that Trent has picked up the injury against Arsenal in the FA Cup. He was hobbling around a little bit, but it seems that that injury is, you know, maybe a little bit significant, because he's looking to miss perhaps 3 or 4 weeks, which is, it's not great. It's not great, really, particularly if you already own Trent. You know, you would maybe consider selling him. I know that Liverpool don't play their Game Week 21 fixture for a couple of weeks, but after that, I think he could be back for Game Week 22, so I don't think he's necessarily a must-sell. If you can afford to bench him, then just do that. But the time to buy him is over. So anyone making early transfers, I know over 400,000 people have already bought in Trent. You know, stop that now, because I don't think he's going to be playing in Game Week 21. It seems super, super unlikely. So maybe you can afford to wait 1 more week before going in on the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, which is a shame, because he looks like a fantastic FPL asset at the moment. Really good form, doing everything we like in terms of FPL defenders. We love it. But if he's injured, then that's no good, right, guys? So, yeah, do not buy Trent right now. I think we can wait 1 more week before going in on him, at least, whilst we wait for more information about the significance of his injury. But Game Week 21, super unlikely for him. And how about this Man City duo for avoids? Yes, I'm going there. De Bruyne, one of the most popular transfers in of the game week. People are selling Salah, selling Son, and just saying, okay, I'll just pick another expensive midfielder. Perhaps without doing enough research into it, because De Bruyne this week has come out and said in an interview that, hey, look, I am still recovering from injury. I need to take it easy. I'm only expecting to be on the bench against Newcastle. And if the player themselves is saying, I'm going to be benched, then we should probably at least consider their view. Now, of course, there's every chance that Pep Guardiola says, hey, you listen to me now, Sonny Jim. You're playing whether you like it or not. But at the same time, you know, it's a significant risk to go for De Bruyne this game week. I think maybe he'll get some minutes off the bench, but a 1-pointer is just as likely as anything else. So therefore, we'll be looking to avoid De Bruyne and perhaps go for a slightly cheaper midfielder this game week. So yes, I understand the appeal. He's got very high ceiling, very, very high potential, but he's got to start starting games first. And I think we need to have a little bit more patience before going in on the likes of De Bruyne. No doubt he'll be a great FPL asset soon, but the time is not now. And Erling Haaland, not even been, on the bench yet for Man City. He's just probably not going to be ready. Like, it doesn't look like he's going to be ready for this game week. Playing on Saturday again, so it's not like he has loads of time, more time to recover. He's not really been pictured training with the main group or anything like that. It's just risky to go for Haaland right now. Again, another player that the best case scenario is probably going to be him on the bench. He's going to be on the bench before he starts starting games again, you would have thought. He's not going to be rushed straight back into the starting 11. So therefore, probably not going to be a player we want to bring in this game week. Again, wait one more week, go elsewhere, see what else we can do for the time being, and then we'll have a look at Erling Haaland after that. But for now, yeah, a player to avoid. So these big hitting Man City players, I know everyone wants to spend their Salah and their Son money. I don't think there's any need to. Leave it in the bank and with a view to buy these players maybe next game week or the week after, depending on when they're available, right? So, yeah, leave that money in the bank for now. You don't have to spend all your money at once. You know, you might thank yourself later. And if the players are injured and not getting game time anyway, you've wasted your money anyway. So, yeah, there we go. So in summary, guys, and I cannot stress this enough, stop making early transfers. Like, people are getting burned by this every single day. Every single day we're getting new information that we're learning a player is unavailable. It started with, a potential Bowen injury. I think he's going to be fine, but still, you would have perhaps not gone for Bowen if you had that information. Now we've got De Bruyne saying he's going to be benched. We've got Erling Haaland not even getting on the bench in the cup games and still doesn't look too likely to start. We've got Trent Alexander-Arnold now injured. There's so many players dropping like flies at the moment, and the later we can leave our transfers, the better, because we get more information. And the last thing you want to do is be wasting your transfers on players who turns out they're not even going to play, and you're going to find yourself in difficult situations where you're really struggling. It's a difficult time in FPL right now, and the best thing you can do, I think, is just be patient. So yeah, I would encourage you guys to try and be as patient as you can. I know it's not always possible, but just try your best. I know you guys are excited to get these players in, so am I, but yeah, sometimes that information is more powerful than that extra bit of team value, I suppose. But there we go. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy, make sure you smash a like. Aiming for 1,000 likes, as always, would be amazing. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. And like I was saying earlier, guys, if you're looking for new midfielders, this buy, sell, keep, avoid video does not do the amount of midfield options justice. So go and check out yesterday's stream. I'll leave a link on that on screen now for you guys to check out. So yeah, do that. Find the best midfielder for you. Maybe it isn't Jota. But until then, thanks so much for watching once again. And I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.